If I asked you if you wanted to increase your value, I'm sure you would say, of course, Mike, absolutely. If I also asked you if you wanted to work more effectively, smarter, rather than harder and harder and harder, I think I'd hear the same thing. You are fortunate, as I am, that those are not mutually exclusive. And over the next 6.5 hours, you're going to learn over 126 different ideas, tips, and techniques to be a more effective communicator, to listen better. The fifth habit, as Stephen Covey has taught in his world-famous book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the fifth habit is seek first to understand, then be understood. So we're going to review, as part and parcel of today, listening skills. Do you know that I am listening to you right now? I want you to know that you are very important to me, and that 55% of your communication with me is nonverbal. Would you please open up to page 1 of your workbooks? Would you please write these 3 numbers down? 55-38-7. 55% of your communication is nonverbal. Below that nonverbal 55, would you write this? Fake it till you make it. I'm faking this smile. You see, most of us learned our body language and are conditioned from the behaviors we watched growing up. I don't know about you, but my father, Coach Bobby, a basketball coach, trig teacher, back in Illinois, he didn't smile much. In fact, he was one of those real tough Bobby Knight type coaches, with all due respect to Coach Knight. And in trig class or calculus class or on the basketball court rather, in 50s and 60s, Coach Marty could be tough as he could be on his children. And that was a great way to grow up, but there wasn't a lot of smiling. So I've taught myself a better, more effective 55%. The 38% is the tone and the volume of your voice. The 7% is all that's left over for the words. This is according to Dr. Albert Morabian, UCLA School of Psychology. It goes way back to the 80s. 55-38-7. Think about that 7% the next time you send out an email. Now, obviously, we're going to cover a lot of different communication methods today, but if you will skip forward to page 11 rather, let me just talk for a few minutes about communicating to change behavior, both your own or anyone around you. On page 11, you'll see there, it says how to be solution focused. Solution focused, and here's an acronym for you, rolls into this quick and easy technique. FFOG, fog with a double F. Focus forward on where you're going. Today is one day in your life. You'll never have it again. So focus forward on what action you can take today to make tomorrow even better. So focus forward on where you're going or on your goals, and that will help you modify or change any of your behaviors. And the same goes for those around you. Be solution focused. How many of you know people who are very good at bringing you problems? problems. Well, I know I'm pretty good at that, but I learned a long time ago, if I can turn that around and say I've got an opportunity. I've got an opportunity. Just like someone that I met a long time ago who faced a significant problem. Can you picture yourself, if you will, right now, sitting in an aircraft that has just taken off? Let's say you're in row 15 and you're focused forward on falling asleep. You're headed home after a taxing trip to New York City. You're headed home, and about 2 minutes and 57 seconds into the flight, you wake up because that aircraft is shaking. There's a problem. And being communicated to you is a signal that, hey, there must be something wrong. Well, up in the cockpit, the man in the right seat, he's called the first officer. Let's call him First Officer Jeff. He looks down at both instrument gauges, and this happens to be January 15th, 2009, and then he looks up and says these two key words, "Oh, horse stuff." Maybe he doesn't say stuff, but this is a discussion I'd like to keep clean so you can insert your own words. He says, "Oh, stuff." And the man in the left, who happens to be an analytical personality, remember earlier we talked about the different behaviors, the different behavior-based personalities rather. This man on the left seat, who is the commander of that aircraft, then says, "I agree, my aircraft." He then proceeds to take a problem, turn it into an opportunity. He banks left, clears the George Washington Bridge by 250 feet, and then rolls out straight and level and looks out the cockpit window at the widest, longest runway he has ever seen. He has just communicated to himself first, folks, and he's practiced over and over the years how to land an aircraft when a problem occurs. Of course, in this case, as some of you might recall, Captain Sully Sullenberger has just encountered about 82 various sizes of Canada geese. They've been ingested in each of the engines, and there is no power. The rest is history. Would you please write this down? And I mentioned it earlier, I believe, but correct me if I'm wrong. Fake it till you make it. He simulated, just as he had simulated in his mind, a successful crash landing, because that's what you call it when you're not landing with wheels down, with landing gear down, on a river, and again, the rest is history. 155 people were saved. Communication starts with you, in other words. Part of his communication on that particular day, which we face all the time, is controlling your emotions. Do you have anyone in your life that you might term difficult? I know I certainly do. The key here, and we're going to use this throughout the rest of the day, is to use a different word. Everyone is different. And if you want to communicate clearly to all those different personality types and the four basic types we talked about earlier, you're going to have to many times fake it till you make it. Do you have problems? Occasionally, and there's that P word again, problems, controlling your emotions, where you might want to take something that is said by somebody who's different, personal. Would you please write down this acronym? Q-tip. Q-tip. It's what I remind myself of constantly if I'm in a situation where my mind really doesn't digest what is said from an unemotional or emotion-controlled standpoint. Q-tip stands for quit taking it, QTI, personally. Let it go, folks. We all have slung over our shoulders a lot of personal baggage. I know throughout the years, whether it was in the military or in the civilian world, in my 22 relocations, I've met a lot of different people. And sometimes I thought they were different. And sometimes, many times perhaps, they thought I was different. In fact, my second and final wife has told me I can be difficult. These communication methods, techniques that you've learned today are going to help you not only at work in your career. And Stephen Covey says 85% of your career success will come from your people skills. I can find great IT people who know bits and bytes, but an IT person with a great personality who learns how to communicate effectively, now there is somebody who's taken control of their value. Now we're going to take a break coming up. I want to thank you for listening, for being a great audience over these first 3 hours. If any of you have questions, come see me during the break. Otherwise, let's come back in about 10 minutes and we'll get started further on our communications marathon. Okay, thank you very much, folks.